like to call to order the November 12th, 2020 Hingham Historic District's Commission meeting. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to an order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. So before we jump in, I know Hans, one of our voting members, is not able to make the meeting tonight. So I'd like to appoint another voting member for 19 Pleasant Street. So I think before I do that, I'd like to ask if anybody has any conflicts with this application.
No.
Steve, that applicant, Steve Oliver, is my neighbor.
Oh, okay.
How do I get this on speaker?
Okay.
You are.
So are you recusing or just not able as a voting member?
Yeah, I don't think I should be a voting member. I did do a site visit, so I could certainly inform the commission.
Great.
Fair enough. Okay, then Tracy, would you be the 5th voting member on 19 Pleasant Street?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, with that, I think we can get going. And I think for the first application on 19 Pleasant Street, I think Peter Bickford is going to represent this application. He does need to leave to attend another town committee meeting at 7. So I want to make sure that the commission is aware of that, and hopefully we can sort of point him in the right direction so he's able to move on to his other meeting at 7. So with that, why don't we get started on 19 Pleasant Street, which is an application to replace existing windows in the front and sides of the house. So Peter, if you're still on, if you or somebody from your team want to walk us through the application.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we have a little bit of a unique situation here in that in 1991, I added on to Steve Oliver's house. So 2 of the windows that we're talking about tonight are part of the 1991 edition, and 2 of the windows are in the original part of the house, all facing Pleasant Street. There were oversized windows in the original house to begin with, and we shrunk them down to what we thought was an appropriate size. And at that time, the HDC did not require a permit from us, so we put in Brosco windows, and typically 7x9 lights of glass, 12/12s. I'm sorry, there's 6/6s. But over the years, the windows have not stood up, they've deteriorated. We've done patchwork on them for the last 20 years, and they've finally given out. And we talked it over with Steve Oliver, and the Brosco windows today, frankly, are not up to standards they were then. And actually, back then, we didn't have much of a choice other than the Broscos. So we are suggesting to put in the Marvin Woodwright windows, similar to what we put into Bob Stewart's house. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that house, but it's around the corner on Pond Street. And we did, the commission let us put in that same window on his front windows. I believe it was 4 years ago. Steve Oliver does not want to spend the money on Brosco windows to have them further deteriorate. And he does not like the look of the aluminum storm windows, which we could eliminate with this type of window. And we all feel that it's good money put into bad on the Brosco product. It just doesn't keep up with today's standards. And frankly, the wood is new growth wood. Doesn't hold up. It doesn't even hold up with paint. So we're suggesting that we can put that we put in the same windows again that we put in on the Stewart House, which I think it's a Lincoln House at the end of Pond Street. So basically, that's our dilemma. You know, we've got rotted windows, and 2 in the original house and 2 on the 91 addition, which is part of the house now. And we're not dealing with old glass windows. We're dealing with 25-year-old windows that have gone bad, and think we can do better with these.
And so, just for clarification, so the 4 windows they were all installed in 91. It just happens to be that
Yes.
2 were in the addition and 2 were on the original house.
That's right.
Okay. And then the 2 in the original house are facing Pleasant, and the 2 that are in the addition are on the left side or the right side of the house? Or the Downing Street?
No, they're in the front.
They're all
All 4 face Downing Street. But again, the 2 of them are in the new addition, which was added onto the front. We made the front of the house longer. So those are the 2 windows on the new addition and 2 on the original house.
okay. And so I understand, Vernon, you were able to take a look at the windows and the condition of the windows and where they are. Could you give us your assessment?
Everything Peter has outlined is accurate. They're all the same vintage, and I spoke with Steve briefly, and he said when they put the addition on 91, those are the windows that went in, as well as in the front, all facing Pleasant Street.
Okay, and so these are all on the first floor, because I see, just looking at Google Maps here, there's a dormer on the second floor with 2 windows, and then it looks like there are 4 on the ground floor facing Pleasant Street.
Yeah, those are
It's
the 4.
Yeah, 4 on the ground floor. The ones up top have not deteriorated the way the bottom ones have.
And so the ones that are there, are they simulated or true divided light?
True divided light.
They are true divided light.
Yeah.
Well, I think and I don't know if the commission has any initial thoughts on this, but it sounds like, certainly based on the condition and age of the windows, that replacement is likely an acceptable thing to be doing. I think it's a matter of what these windows are being replaced with, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but that's sort of my first take on this. So I guess I'd open it up to the commission to get any thoughts on the proposal.
It doesn't sound like it's the case that there is a truly historic piece of window in jeopardy. It's a 1991 window that's in jeopardy.
Correct.
If you're waiting for me, that is correct. Sorry.
Catherine,
We can't hear you.
I thought I unmuted. Hi, Peter. Catherine here.
Hi. Oh, hi, Catherine. Good.
So, I need a little clarification on, you're going to replace it with another simulated, or is that the request?
Well, we're gonna replace it with a simulated. The window now is not simulated. It's a true divided light. I'm not sure if you heard what I said before, but it's a Brosco window
I heard all that.
that, it's not a good quality window anymore, and it'd be a disservice, I think, to put it in the house. And the homeowner really doesn't want me to put it in the house.
Okay, just needed a little clarity. Thank you.
Any thoughts, any other thoughts from any of the other commission members? I know, for the point of conversation, I think typically, we're replacing, in like kind, whether it's a different manufacturer or a better quality window. But as these are currently true divided light, replacement with true divided light is more consistent with what we've done in the past. One of these, part of this house is an addition, somewhat modern addition from 1991. So, whether that changes the view as to whether, these need to be maintained as true divided light or go to simulated divided light, I'd like to get, some thoughts from the commission members on that.
Actually, my impression on true divided light is that the look winds up being different from a solid sheet of glass. But these seem like much more modern implementations of true divided light. I'm wondering if that look and feel exists today or not in these particular windows.
Because they're more modern.
Because I was thinking they're more modern and they might, not have that nice look of a true divided light.
Okay.
And if I could say something about that, I'd like to.
Sure. Right there.
We're really, as builders, left with not much of a choice, because nobody makes a true divided light that is of good quality. And I think it's a burden on the homeowner to go out and search, when you can get a window, for instance, for $600 or $700 to replace that. I suppose you could go off to an extreme to an ultra high custom window manufacturer and pay $2,000 or $3,000 per window, but you're not going to get a lot of people to go that route. And I think the integrity of the house begs to have a new window put in, so that the framing, the sills, and all the members of the house that part of the integrity stay dry and rot free. If you put the burden on somebody to spend a fortune on windows and they don't do it, I think the quality of the house is just going to deteriorate. And the emphasis of all of us is to save the house without burdening the homeowners. People don't have that kind of money to search out a true divided light window, so they go to the Brosco window. The Brosco window deteriorates and the house fails. So we're really left in a no-win situation. Unless somebody can tell me, go ahead.
If I can add to what you're saying, Pete, I'm just, the idea that it's going from a true divided to a simulated divided, in my opinion, sometimes gets muffled when it gets put behind a storm window. If we had the ability to put a 6/6 simulated divided light in, and we don't need a storm, you have at least a clear view of that divided light, whether it's simulated or true.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder, Ben, do you have a recommendation in this case. I just put up the house from the assessor's database, and as we're looking at it, we're looking at the Pleasant Street side, as I understand it. There's the front door. And so the two windows would go directly in the front of the house, is that correct? Both. There are four windows right on the first floor. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so
Right,
I
yes.
think we can see what we're looking at. All right, Ben, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I wonder if Ben has a recommendation.
Thanks, Andrea. So Marvin makes something called an ADL, which they call as authentic divided light, which has individual panes. And I think that might mimic the ultimate that Peter is talking about, the all wood ultimate in terms of its proportions. That would have to be checked.
And is that, is it insulated glass? Is that what you're saying, Ben?
No, it's single pane, like a true divided light. They just call it authentic divided light.
Oh, okay.
But Ben, I've used those in the past, and it's a clip-on storm, and they have the same problems that the Brosco windows do.
Yeah, I mean,
I've explained that to Steve.
Yeah,
You know,
Mr.
it's up to your commission to decide, but you know, to me, that is, you know, it's not much better than a Brosco window with a storm on it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just say, Peter, you know what our problem is. Our problem is that we have always replaced like in kind. On an addition, we have allowed a simulated divided light window. So technically speaking, I don't know if the board would agree that perhaps on the addition, which is the left side here, that might be a possibility. We typically almost 100% never ever approve a simulated divided light in the front of the house. So that's our dilemma, everybody. I know you know it. So here we are.
But excuse me, Andrea, but I'm going to go back to Bob Stewart's house. Matter of fact, it was a more dire situation because in Bob Stewart's house, the commission let us take old windows out and put simulated in. And it's right on Pond Street, right in the same district. And all we're asking here is to take Brosco windows out, not old glass. And that's what the commission allowed us to do on Bob Stewart's house. And that's the consistency that I'd like to see.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, if we were allowed to do that we couldn't do it here.
Weren't those two windows in the gable ends, Peter?
No. Oh, yeah, they were, but there were two or three on the front. I'll have to go back and look at the permit, but if you go back in your records, they were on the gable end facing the fire station and on the front facing Pond Street.
What we did there, Pete, was we saved the exterior trim and replaced the sash. We put simulated divided, replaced some windows in, and saved the trim to try to save the integrity of the whole house.
I think that's something we'll have to look at. I recall it being in the gable ends. I don't recall that being something on the front, on the ground level.
Can't remember exactly, but I know they were, visible from as you're coming down Pond Street.
Plus, I think also, Mr. Chairman, there were a number of windows replaced on that driveway side. In the kitchen. We just did this,
correct.
Peter, with 8 Pond Street for the new owners. We went through.
Yeah.
So I think, all right, everybody,
Okay.
that's where we are.
Well, so, I think, I think we should look at that and understand what we allowed in that instance. I don't know how the commission feels, and whether they think simulated divided light would be acceptable in this scenario, given the fact that part of this house is from 1991, as is replacement of windows from 1991. I'm not hearing a strong yay or nay sense from the commission or the other as to simulated divided light or true divided light in this scenario.
I suppose I would vote for consistency, that whatever is on the old part of the house is consistent with the 91 edition. I feel like we're on the precipice of this issue is going to be constantly recurring for us, and so it feels tricky.
Any thoughts from any other commission members?
Yeah, Michael, I think Andrew is alluding to it. The precedent is to stick with the true divided light. I'm looking at this order sheet that's part of the application here, and it talks about a black spacer bar. If it was simulated divided light, that just creates even more of a shadow around those simulations and makes that button look that much deeper. I think. I don't know if there's options of changing that color to white or something to try to help it blend in if we were to go that route. But I think my gut would be to stick with the true divided light in this instance.
So, but what true divided light are you talking about? You're forcing the homeowner to go to Brosco? I mean, if you got a suggestion on a true divided light.
Well, I think, and I don't know specific manufacturers, but I know we come across this multiple times, and it's my understanding there are manufacturers out there that make a better simulated divided light window that's not Brosco.
You mean a true divided light, Mr. Chairman?
Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
You mean a true divided light, that's
True
not
divided.
Brosco.
Correct.
I guess I just repeat what I said, that if you make it too burdensome on the homeowner to just leave the windows and let the house deteriorate, maybe not this particular person, but I think that's what you're up against. And I agree with Catherine Daly that you're going to be seeing this continuously because the wood products, number one, are getting more expensive if you want that type of window, and they're becoming obsolete. Eventually, it's gonna come to the all simulated divided lights. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but if you make it too burdensome on the homeowner, I think it defeats the purpose of restoring or keeping an old house in its integrity.
And Ben, are you aware of other true divided light windows that are not Brosco or that are better than Brosco?
I know of other brands. I haven't used all of them. There's something called Boston Sash. They're an all wood true divided, or they have that option. And then, I haven't had bad luck with a Marvin Authentic Divided Light, but I can't say that they've been installed since 1991. So perhaps I don't have enough history with the Marvin Authentic Divided. Colby may also have an all wood true divided light. I'm not sure of that. And then there's a company called Hurd, Hurd. You know, one thing we have to consider though is, well, or maybe we don't have to consider in the addition, if simulated divided light is approved and it's a Marvin, are we looking to match what's in the original volume in terms of its proportions? You know, the Muntin size, the sill size, those things.
I mean, I think ideally there's consistency in that we are matching across the board.
Charlie.
And trying to match the with the dormer too, because it would be nice to have consistency there, and maybe that's kind of a factor that can aid in our decision making.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Peter, I think you need to join your other meeting. We've got Wes.
Yeah, I've got.
I was going to say, you had to, I think if you gave this place the dormer windows to match the lower new SDL, I think he would agree that he's going to need to replace those Broscos on the second floor probably sooner than later anyways. He probably agreed to throw a consistent window all the way across the front of his house.
Well, I think what I'm hearing consistently from the commission is, a lack of support for the simulated divided light. For the simulated divided light in this application. I do understand the concern of a good quality window and not putting in something that's going to rot in a few years in place of what's there. So I might make a suggestion to continue in the attempt for maybe the applicant to find a true divided light window of a better quality than Brosco for consideration in this application.
Again, I heard Ben and Ben the Colby and some of those other windows. They're I don't even know if they're manufacturing today. I've had bad luck with those. Any of them. I just don't know of one. I know there's a company up in Canada that makes mahogany windows, but they're priced off the market. And you still have to put an aluminum storm window over them. I mean, I guess at this point, I just urge the commission to go back and look at Bob Stewart's the decision on that.
Hey, Peter, I have the minutes up for the Bob Stewart house, and I can say that we were basically having the same discussion, and the commission was concerned about setting a precedent of changing the true divided lights, which were found in the front of the original volume first floor. So that application, we asked for restoration. Now I know you have a different scenario, so restoration is probably not the situation. But what is there and what remains there is a true divided light on the first floor facing the front.
You're talking 8 Pond Street.
Yes, I have the minutes here from August. The meeting was August 13th.
Thank you, Ben.
So I think this sort of broadens out to a larger philosophy about the whole window in the historic districts as a whole. Whether having an aluminum storm over a single pane window, is that desirable as compared to a simulated divided light? And I don't have the answers to this. I'm still figuring it out myself. But it seems like it's a broader question, something that the commission think about moving forward. As we keep holding on to what we've done in the past and the precedent we've held on to, but at a certain point, maybe we need to think about, energy savings and the look of a storm window over simulated divided.
I agree, Catherine. I think that's where we're headed. Like the Colby window is a true divided light, but with an insulated panel. So you end up with the thicker, mutton depth and everything like that. But that's allowing that insulated panel to meet the energy codes that we have today. And I think that's what we're starting to run up against. Is the true divided lights of 100 years ago and more. It was even 40 years ago was single pane glass, and homeowners don't really want that anymore. So then you end up with that storm window, which really didn't exist historically either.
And they're a nightmare. And
Yeah.
I know. The pinching and the trying to get it up and down and the
And even they are becoming less available.
Yep.
Right. So I think that I know that it's very tricky to say, okay, on this project we approve it, but we didn't approve it on the project prior. A lot of people will be upset. But I just feel like moving forward, this is just going to keep
It's
coming.
not going to get better.
This old way of thinking, and maybe it's time to adjust.
It's clearly not going to get better. So there is going to be a tipping point. It's just when does that tipping point hit? And it's a struggle.
And frankly, part of maybe the adversarial feelings towards the Historic Districts Commission kind of emerged from this being one of the issues. And homeowners, it's a difficult issue.
Well, it's a tough balance, and on the one hand, we want to maintain the integrity of the historic districts and the structures within the historic districts. At the same time, it is 2020 and not 1820. And things evolve over time. But I think this is a bigger discussion globally that I think we need to have and take into consideration what all of the options are, what the different manufacturers are offering, how they're different from one another, and how they're evolving. And I think that's a discussion we should absolutely have, and whether that's a specific item on an agenda. I know we've had business meetings in the past where we've discussed, alternate materials. And maybe it's time to revisit that discussion along with windows. So that puts us in a particularly difficult spot with this application, knowing this is something we need to look at a little bit further when we have an application in front of us today requesting simulated divided light in a situation where we're not typically allowing it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can remind everybody, with the latest 8 Pond Street window discussion, I believe that what we ended up doing was we basically said to the new homeowner that even though the windows were not original to the house, they still had to be a true divided light window, and they could choose whether to continue that on the other aspects of the house, or they wanted to use a simulated divided light. But we asked them to maintain the true divided light on the front. And I just think if there's something that we can, is there a way that you feel as a commission that you can justify an approval of a simulated divided light here? Is this something you want to continue to next month and do some more research? Where are we at?
I feel strongly about architectural consistency and observing precedents, but I also am concerned about undue burden on the owner. And I don't like making it too difficult or too expensive for the owner to follow what I consider not terribly important issues about the kind of windows. I mean, the addition on the house really changed the character of the house quite a bit.
Sorry,
Is
Ben.
it possible to continue this and then have a discussion? Maybe everyone can do a little research over the next month, and then bring this to the commission and have a discussion prior to this reviewing the application afterwards, or how could that work?
I think that's a good suggestion, and I might also suggest that, we've also looked at lots of samples of lots of windows. I'm not sure if we've looked at a sample of this window yet. We may have. But maybe this would give us the opportunity to review a sample of this. We can review a sample of this at the house, take a look at it in person, and have that discussion, do some research, and sort of reconvene on the discussion overall, big picture of simulated versus true divided light for the future. I think that would make sense. It sort of continues this, but we're not denying it. We're considering this, understanding what it means for not only this house, but the future of the districts and the houses within the district. And Carol, I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, two thoughts. One is I wondered if Wes is still with us. Are you guys under any kind of time pressure? Would another month make a big difference to you? Is he still there?
It's okay. I think it's important for us to get these windows right in a house that we want to preserve for a long time, rather than to rush through something this month.
Yeah, I kind of go along with Father Robert that to the extent that we can maintain what's there. I also would say that if we're doing a little research on windows, I would also suggest research on what the other historic districts commissions are doing around, the 11 towns that we all compare ourselves to. What are they using for windows? What are they allowing?
Well, I think that's a good point, Carol. Go ahead. I think it was Wes or Peter wants to say something.
I was just going to say, if there's any questions, is there anything that Peter or I can do to show you windows or give you our opinion, or just kind of point out the differences in one window to another, and give you our assessment of why one performs better, and why one would be a better option for a homeowner, cost-wise, energy-wise, long-term preservation.
Looks-wise.
Looks-wise.
In that regard, I wonder if, perhaps there's a way. It's really hard to look at a window and say, oh, the muttons are this, and the glass looks that, and the inside is painted, and not compare them. So I don't know if it would be possible to somehow go to a showroom where they have a variety of simulated styles for us to look at, and so we could actually see and compare and mull it over, so that we could create, maybe if we do move forward with approving such a style in the future, that we could have a list we could provide for homeowners and contractors alike.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what I'm hearing is, I think the course of action, what we should do is, if Peter or Wes, if you can get a sample of the window that you're proposing, with the Mont size and the simulated divided light, the spacer bar that is being proposed, that we can view on site for the next meeting. In the interim, we will sort of figure out the best way to sort of revisit this, as whether it's an item on our agenda, whether it's a separate meeting. We'll have to talk about how best to do that. Visit the showrooms, I think that's all great. So let us sort of figure out how best procedurally to go about that. In the meantime, if we can see a sample of this on site, for consideration in advance of our next meeting. I think that makes sense. Does that sound good, Peter and Wes?
Yes.
Yes, and I'd like
Yeah,
to
we'll,
just
we'll,
thank you guys for your openness to, at least pursue this and give us a
Yeah.
chance to show you what we can do with new products and new windows.
And we'll get something for you guys to look at with Steve's house. And I agree with Wes, and I'm glad to hear you open the discussion up, because I think it's going to come to this eventually, and other towns are allowing it. We're doing a house in Duxbury now. We're meeting with the historical committee, and we're talking about simulated divided light windows, and they're open for it. We haven't had a final decision yet, but I've had this discussion with various members of the HTC over the years, and a couple things I'd just like to end with is the worst part of it. We talk about the look and the size of the muttons and the shape of the muttons, and then you put an aluminum storm window over a true divided light, and it just, in my opinion, destroys the whole look of what we're trying to achieve here. And the second thing I'm going to ask again is, have you guys ever come up against this in a historic district where you have 20-year-old, 25-year-old Brosco windows, and they weren't original to the house, and maybe you can set a precedent here for either using these windows or at least using them in the 91 edition, and then maybe go to something else in the original part of the house. But I think it's only fair to the homeowner and other homeowners to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm. No, I think we're in agreement with you, Peter, and I think having a sample of that window on site for everybody to see in person, I think will go a long way with helping this discussion.
Okay, we'll get one, and we'll let Andrea know when you guys come down and take a look.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Wes.
Thanks for your time, and I hope it didn't get hurt anyone's feelings or get overheated in the discussion. But they're always good to make things come out right in the end.
Great.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so the next hearing is an informal discussion on 1007 Main Street regarding the fence. We met with the applicant last month, talked about some options for remediation on the fence, and so the applicants are back with us to sort of go through some options and talk a little bit about where they've been since we last spoke. So with that, I'll open that up to Mr. Monroy.
Great, thank you so much. And this is my wife Diana. She wasn't able to join last time, but it seems hard to believe it was a month ago, and I feel like we've experienced all 4 seasons with some snow, some summer weather. It's been pretty crazy. But yeah, so thank you so much for taking the time. I think what we wanted to do is just get a steer from you all, following our discussion from a month ago, so that we have just some input from you on some of the things that we're considering for the replacement of the fence, so that once we get back in front of you for the formal approval, that hopefully we have some, we're on the right path, and we're not, we're using everyone's time efficiently. So that's kind of the goal. So we put together a couple slides, and I'm going to try to share my screen, if that works. And I sent them to Andrea. Actually, it says my host, it's been disabled. So if I could ask Andrea maybe to share the email I sent you.
Okay, Sherry, are you able to
Yes, I just made him co-host. He should be able to share now.
Okay, there you go.
Great. right, let's see if this works. So this can folks
Great.
see it? Is that what is that? I don't know if that's what I wanted to share. Hold on. I apologize.
Well, we see 1007 Main Street fence considerations.
Yeah. Oh, great. Okay.
Sure
perfect.
looks like what you'd want to share.
That is it. Okay, perfect. I think we have the right one. So, just going to the first slide here. What we thought we would just to refresh everyone's memory, we just sort of show some pictures of the existing fence, so folks can sort of jog in their minds what we talked about last time. Then just get into some potential options. I'm sorry.
I'm seeing just the cover sheet with the text on it. I'm not seeing any photos yet. Oh, there you go.
Does that one work? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now are you seeing the bullets?
Yes.
Perfect. So then I think we would just go. We put together some just potential options for the fence replacement, and really just to help sort of guide the discussion. What we're really looking for is a steer, some feedback on just like the fence type, the aesthetic type of fence, the height, the material, the color, and then as we talked about the last meeting, we bought these granite posts and we had some ideas of where to put those. And so those are the goals that we wanted to accomplish on this meeting. So just the first item, can you see the house now?
Yes.
Great. So just a refresher, right? This is the house and this is the existing fence, aluminum, it's black, it's 48 inches high, and it spans across Main Street down to Blaisdell, and then sort of hooks back into the house. And I do want to point out, I believe it was Tyler last time, and the schematic that I drew showed the fence go parallel to the house. I totally messed that up, and it actually does run parallel to the sidewalk, as Tyler pointed out. So that was
Great.
Yeah, I noticed that. I've driven by it a few times. I noticed it does align with the neighboring fences.
So apologies for not putting that down correctly. And so this is just quickly the view from Main Street, and then that's the view from Blaisdell Street. So that's just the quick refresher. And so I think what from the feedback I got from the last meeting was really the metal fence as today it's not consistent with other residential homes within the historical district. So from what I heard was really move towards a picket fence. And then I had a subsequent conversation with Andrea, and we were actually Andrea suggested we also look at top rail fences as a potential option. So based on that guidance, that's what we'll show you a couple options around those types of styles. And so as I mentioned last time, I just wanted to point out one of the biggest drivers here is just safety. We do have 3 kids. The youngest is 2, and we have a dog, and so just thinking about making sure that whatever we put there, that it sort of keeps the kids in rather than people and dogs out. So that's kind of the idea. So this option, this Mont Vernon style, again, I think I'm not an engineer or an architect, but this looks similar to the other pickets.
So white wood, I don't think, I know sort of instantly, the look of these white images, if they were wood, would feel appropriate.
Yeah, couldn't we absolutely eliminate the word vinyl right now?
Well, that's a question, because so I think one of the, I think that's a question that we wanted to ask, because we did do some diligence around the every historic district in town, and did see some vinyl fences in historic districts. So I guess we want to be constructive with you all and understand sort of where your position was around vinyl versus wood, and in color, because I think where we were I think those were our questions, sort of, again, style, color, material. We're open to everything, but did want to have the discussion. So.
Yeah, I think in regard to wood versus vinyl, we don't approve vinyl fences, and there may be a fence. I don't know what specific properties you're referring to, but whether they've put them in on their own without our approval or they're just outside of a district, we've not approved a vinyl fence.
Gotcha.
At a residence.
Gotcha. So that's super helpful. So we'll focus on wood going across Main Street here, and then just in terms of like the styles here, I'll flip through. There's this Essex picket, again the Mount Vernon picket, the Essex picket, and then we did this top rail fence. And just candidly, the concern we had with this particular top rail fence is that just by the looks of it, the dog could easily run through, or our kids would run on there.
Yeah.
I think the other styles you were cycling through looked perfectly reasonable. And I think we would probably advise away from the black. And white and natural are easily approved.
Gotcha.
Andrea, just in terms of your intent on top rail style, was that what you were referring to, or something?
No, I obviously did not do a good job explaining. So,
sorry.
No, that's okay. What I was referring to, and I'm sorry, I just assumed too much, would be similar to this would be out there, but it would also have our styles of a top rail cross.
Something like this, but it has a rail going across the top.
Yes, but that was just
Gotcha.
a suggestion, not necessarily
Gotcha.
what it should be.
Understood. Gotcha. Okay. So basically, between the Mount Vernon and this Essex, like we're up, from what I'm hearing, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it sounds like these are sort of directionally where we should move towards.
They're both appropriate.
In wood.
I'm just questioning is why does the commission really feel that the fence that exists has to be taken out and replaced with a picket fence? What is really wrong with the fence that's there now?
The black metal fence that is there?
Yes.
I
Yes.
think it looks really out of place.
Robert, we had this discussion at the last meeting and we denied that application for that fence.
I know, but I guess I just dissent on that decision, but it's too late
Okay.
now. Yeah.
But we're here now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess then if we're directly on the style, I think this would be helpful. Now, in terms of the height, right now the existing fence is 48 inches in height, and we just sort of we would prefer to go to 48 inches if possible, just because it provides a little additional safety for the dog being able to jump over it. I'm curious if folks have a view on if 48 is in keeping with the surrounding area, if that's appropriate.
It's a very tall house. I think that 48 would be appropriate in my mind.
It's a big house.
Yeah. 48 seems appropriate. So up to you.
Awesome. And I think that leaves then so the color, and I'm gonna go and maybe this will be helpful too. So the color of the house is more of like a sand, like cream. I'm not. So my wife is better than this than me. So if you ask me what the color of the house is, I would say it's white, but it's cream. And so I'm curious if we could match if there would be any objection to matching the color of the fence to the house, so that it's the same shade. versus white.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I'd approve of that if I were voting.
Yep.
Great. All right, super. And then I think then the last item that we had was then on the granite posts. And so what we were thinking is, if we're going to go picket, then if we could frame, the front picket and put the posts around this. Can you see the yellow checked line as a corner?
Yes.
And then on the other side, put the other granite posts, and that would be sort of like the frame for the front, rather than put it sort of framing the walkway.
What kind of gate are you thinking about?
Good question. Done. Which one?
You can see it on the right.
This one here.
Kind of this refers to the X-frame gate. We wouldn't go off the arch off the gate. We would just keep it
I
Flat.
can't
flat
hear.
for the
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. So the gate in the option A, the top right-hand corner, is called an X-frame gate, I believe. So that is the gate that we were considering. We weren't thinking about having the gate have that arched top. It would just be flat and in alignment with the fence itself.
Mm-hmm. Great.
I don't know if you can see my mouse circling it on that page, but that's what we were thinking.
Those all seem appropriate to me. And the idea of
Great.
putting the corner posts in is unique and very appropriate also.
Oh, awesome.
And those posts would be the same height as the fence, the granite posts?
Would they? Yes. Yes.
Do you happen to have a picture in this presentation of those granite posts?
I have. You know what? I have them in the last presentation. Let me see if I can switch. Hold on. Let me see. How do I switch my share? Hold on. I can drag. All right, hold on. Can you see the old application?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, great. Wow, I did something right here. There they are. You see Exhibit G?
Right there.
Do you know the dimensions?
Well, they're cut. Oh, you mean the width of them? They might be.
Yeah.
I can run out of. We can follow up with an email, but they may be either 4x4 or 6x6.
Either 4. I don't know if you heard that, but 4x4 or 6x6. We can send the dimension.
Should count the bricks.
Oh,
There you go.
there you go.
There you go.
So they're meant more for a light post, something of that effect. They're not old hitching posts.
Well, they were actually originally we were going to put them to frame the walkway in front of the home. So that was the original purpose. So let me just, if I can find. So can you see the front of the house from Main Street?
Like, mhm.
Yes.
So they were going to be like right here in this opening. I don't know if you can see it. That's where they were going to be to frame the entrance way to the front of the house.
They look like they're taller than that.
They are tall. I think when they cut them, or they accounted for them to be.
Or it depends on how tall your hole is.
Yeah.
How
And
deep they're going to be planted.
The two that you're showing right now look like old hitching posts. Are they already on your property?
No, these are directly across the street from our home that I just took as a comparison, because this was the inspiration for our posts. So we tried to be, respectful.
Looking at there's a photograph of your home as it currently is, and there it looks like there's a hitching post in the front right corner of the home.
No, that's the mailbox.
Oh.
Yeah. The post office made us put our mailbox there.
Oh, yes, I see it by the dead end sign.
Yeah.
It's a mailbox.
Yeah. they no longer walk up.
What's the world come
They would
to?
have to follow policy. If you remove the mailbox from the house, it has to be permanently removed.
Ooh.
So,
Is that mailbox post similar to these granite posts that you have
Yes.
on your patio?
exactly the same. Well, yes, same granite.
I'm trying to picture how that post on the corners of the property would work. So would it be, so you'd have a post in the corner and then you'd have two other fence posts meeting it, or would it be outside the line of the fence or inside the line of the fence? I'm trying to figure out how those pieces go together.
So I think we were envisioning it, if you can see my mouse right here, to put that post as the end post here, and then have the picket go across, and then have the other granite post on this side, so it just kind of frame the entire front fence. That was the thing.
Have you spoken to the installer about that? Because there needs to be a way that the wooden fence will secure to the granite. And then are they going to drill into it and then secure the rails in that way, or?
Yeah,
And I might just suggest that we could leave that to the homeowner's further investigation and preference expression.
yeah.
Well, I think that should be part of the application, sort of the next application, because I think that's an important detail, because if you have a post, and you're not directly connecting the wood pieces to that post, then you're going to have two other wood posts holding the fence with this granite post on the corner, and I think that's a little.
Yeah. And so my wife, thank
So
God.
interesting idea, but it could be tricky.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. My wife, go ahead. I mean, she's way ahead of me.
I think the idea with having that granite post essentially anchor the corner was so that it provides this anchor to the corner of the lot. That's where the fence along Laysell meets the granite post, and then where the new picket fence that runs along Main would meet that picket post. We wouldn't have the like a wooden picket post right next to the granite. The wooden picket panel would be directly, whether it's however they bracket right into the granite post itself.
Okay.
And we can add that happy to add that, like those details to the application specifically. We'll work with the installer to understand the process so we can provide that.
If you had a statute, that certainly would eliminate any question.
So just for clarity, so you're thinking of them as property markers, not as part of the fence structure.
No, it's not the fence.
Yeah, no, we're thinking of this as part of the fence structure. So just to recap, so my wife did confirm with the installer that the picket fence would connect directly to the granite post via a bracket or some other means.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So that, I mean, again, this is super helpful. So we can certainly add that detail into the formal application. And then just, as a courtesy, we did want to also bring up that we are going to, put some plantings along Blaisdell side there. And when we did so, and we're either going to do a privet hedge or some kind of lilac bushes, but something there, because we have, I don't know if you can see in the picture, but we did put some new bedding down, and so we need something to frame the bedding. And then as we were going through that process, we actually and I mentioned this to Andrea, but going back to the safety, we would like to have some kind of a fence behind the privet hedge, right? To just so that the kids or the animal doesn't go through. And so, what we would ask is if, and again, we'll put this all in the application, but if the commission could consider, us keeping that, keeping the fence as is along Blaisdell with the understanding that it's going to be, shielded by the hedges or whatever we decide to put in.
So I think, to remind the commission, I think what we talked about last time in regard to the fence along Blaisdell was that, there was some openness to consider, allowing the fence on Blaisdell to remain on the portion that's on the other side of the driveway towards the back of the property. But not necessarily that portion of the fence that's on the screen on sort of the Main Street end of Blaisdell. So I don't know if, the commission, how the commission feels about that, and whether, there's a change of mind on that, or.
I think there was no ambiguity that the piece of fence that we see on the screen right now, we would not allow.
Yeah.
Right.
It was back by the back door, the side door of the house.
Right.
We're going to allow from there on back.
So if this fence isn't allowed, what can I put in terms of a fence that's blocked from view behind the hedge? To make sure, can I put a chain link fence?
You could continue the white fence, if that's where we're going on the Main Street side, you could just continue that fence all the way around.
Right, that same fence would be appropriate.
So,
And you wouldn't have to invest in the privet hedge.
but no, I think the point is we're going to put the privet hedge in. We've decided to put this is not an either or.
Okay.
We're going to put this isn't a trade. We're going to put the privet hedge in, and so what's the utility? What's the utility of having a white picket fence behind a privet hedge that nobody can see, right?
Well, it would be on the street side. Cars would see the fence before they'd see the hedge, right?
Well, no, the hedges are going to be on the street. The hedges are going to be on the street side, not on the. They're
So
not going to be on the inside.
your property comes over that far towards the street?
Yeah, we set it back. So we left a pathway to put the hedges in front, to block the view from the public way.
When we were doing the landscaping and the fencing for the property, our plans included these types of hedges before we learned of the issue with the fence. So we had accounted for the setback to have the hedges and the fence behind it, and then the house. So the hedges would be on the street side, essentially camouflaging the fence itself from street view.
But if you're standing in front of your house, looking up at the front door, you turn your view to the side, you're gonna look at the fence on Blaisdell, right?
Well, I think that with the hedges themselves would be we would have them planted on the street side behind, in front of the fence, and then those hedges would kind of peekaboo through the fence through to the inside from the home view.
And on the inside of the fence, we have hydrangeas and other plantings on the inside of the fence to further obstruct. It doesn't completely, just to be completely honest, it doesn't completely camouflage it, but there are, as you can kind of see them, right, here, all the way down, that do flower that are going to, do a fair amount of, concealing that fence from the inside.
You want to think about what it might look like in the winter when the leaves are off and the hydrangeas are back down to the ground, and
Right.
think of all four seasons.
But I think,
But I think
Understood. And I just want to show this picture as well. I mean, this. Let's see. This is what's right across the street. This is facing Main Street, right next to us.
We didn't approve that, I'm sure.
right.
And so
That's unfortunate.
yeah, but it's also inconsistent, right? So I don't, and this fence, by the way, runs all the way down Blaisdell.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
well,
So-
I think we got to stay focused on the application in front of us, which is
Right.
the property. I
But I think we are very clear on what you were describing about the landscaping around the metal fence, unless, I don't want to speak for the other commissioners, but we grasp your point, but wouldn't approve that metal.
Well, I think to the commission, and obviously to the applicant too, I don't think we've ever approved landscaping as a means to mask something that might be non-conforming. And I think that's what we're talking about here in this instance, because landscape can come and go, it can die, leaves can fall off, and it's never been something that we've approved to mask something that's not appropriate. So, I don't think that metal fence, consistent with our discussion last time, would be appropriate along that portion of Blaisdell.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree that if you have to, the fence ought to be consistent all the way down and not have a different style.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, but I read the bylaw, and it seems to me this is an issue of sequencing, because I've read it a couple times, but Mass General Law and the Hingham bylaw, right? And see, I thought the test was, if you had, forget the legal term, but whatever, some kind of structure within view of a public way, right? And so, if there was so then if you live in a world where if a hedge was up and then you put a fence behind it and it's hidden from view from a public way, then is that okay? Or is it the fact that the fence is up there now and then you put a fence up? I'm just asking the question.
Well, in regard to landscape, we've never, like I said before, we've never approved landscape as a way to mask something that's non-conforming. And so in that instance, I think, while I don't know that scenario has ever come in front of us, I would like to think that we'd be consistent there in that, whether the fence is on the inside or the outside, that we're not allowing landscape to dictate whether, we would approve something that might be non-conforming. So,
okay.
I think in terms of the fence discussion, the only thing I will add, is, the height of the fence. It sounded like, for the most part, I think the commission was, okay with a fence up to 48 inches. I think, it seems tall compared to some of the other fences in proximity to it, which, while I have not measured them all, they all appear to be lower than 4 feet, at least the ones that are sort of in range of your property. But that's one person's thought. So, I think if the commission is still okay with 48 inches as a height, maybe that's fine. But, I wanted to raise that in the context of the other fences in proximity to this property. So,
I'll make it. Can I add something?
Yep, good.
I feel like the house. This is a 48-inch fence. A 48-inch fence, correct?
Yep.
So it seems in scale with the home to me. So maybe it would be a little different when it's white and a larger picket. One thing I would say is that I'm not opposed to a different kind of fence along the right side of the house, as long as it coordinated with what was on the front. Not this fence because it's non-conforming, but something else. I don't think it necessarily has to match all the way around. If there was another option you wanted to present for the side of the house, I would be open to that.
Thank you.
That could remain attractive.
Yeah, I think our thought, just like from aesthetically on that side is, I mean, we would love just to have, candidly, I mean, if we didn't have kids or a dog, we would just take the fence down and just put a hedge, right? And, you know, away we would go. But I think, again, just going back to the safety, so like to the extent that we can like hide a fence as much as possible, that would be our preference. And then, you know, kind of putting a white picket along the side from the inside of the house, it just, I don't know. I don't know how that would look. I mean, we'd have to think about that. But I just want to share with you just sort of our thinking around why we were sort of moving towards, you know, if we could keep that fence, or like if another dark sort of thin fence that gets hidden by the, you know, the bushes, whether it's holly or privet or whatever, you know, then, you know, that would be our preference, just kind of like hide.
I wonder if you could take down the fence, put the front section across, put your plantings up, and see how thick and lush it looked, and maybe you would find you didn't need the fence along the right side.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that would be our hope. That would be our hope. We do have a very annoying, wily dog, but yes. That would be the hope.
It's unfortunate that, you know, I empathize with you on the fact that we're even here for this is it's a huge upset for all of us to know that you put this fence in.
No, look, again, I don't want you to feel that. I mean, like, again, we made the mistake, so we'll take responsibility for that. And so, I'm just, putting what's there. So we messed up. So like, there are no hard feelings on that. There's a process, and we didn't follow it, so we messed up. So that's shame on us, and we want to make it right. I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to advocate, of keeping the fence. I'm just trying to solve for, an aesthetic now. Like, we're already resigned to the fact that the fence is going to come down, right? So now it's just thinking like, okay, as we took some time to think about our last meeting. And by the way, like, and this is what I mentioned to Andrea too, is that like, we wanted to get back in front of you so that you knew that we weren't just sitting on this, right? And I know that there was a gentleman who made the comment like, oh, I don't want to be dealing with this in the springtime, whatever. We don't either. And so we're kind of up against, the calendar, just with like ground freezing and everything else. And so, we're just trying to get to the right answer. And so, and as we were just thinking through these things of like, okay, well, if we put a hedge up, let's take the fence down, we'll put up a hedge. But then it's like, well, wait a minute, the dog can run through it. And then, and our neighbor right down the street, they had a little puppy that ran out on Main Street, hit by a car, killed. And so like that happened. So like, we're just kind of, again, we're not trying to be a pain in the neck. We're just trying to get, solve for a couple different things, primarily safety and obviously, the aesthetic. So we're trying to do it efficiently.
The electric collars work on dogs very well. We know lots of people that have had great success with them. You bury the wire under the grass and the dog knows where it is and all that. But you can't do that with the kids. And,
right.
Till any kind of hedge grows tall enough to keep them away, could be a few years to make it really safe for children without something in there.
Right. So,
well, I think if I could just kind of summarize where I think what I'm hearing from the commission is that I think either of the Mount Vernon or the Essex style that you showed us is probably appropriate. Wood could be up to 48 inches high, and the color could be white, or it could be the off-white to match your house.
Okay.
I think, it'll be important for us to see how you want to incorporate the granite posts into your proposal. So I think a sketch on that, I think would be helpful for us to understand. And I think, I'm hearing from Catherine at least that, maybe if there's a thought to have a different style of fence along that.
Historic homes have had different, the style shift from the main facing run of fence versus what runs down the side road.
which could be okay. I think, I would err towards simplicity, given if in fact you're going to keep the other portion of that black fence on the other side of the driveway,
Simple wood, for example.
then you're going to have potentially 3 different styles unless you change that. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, so do you think there would be any, openness if, the where it's a black behind the hedge, right? If that's a black fence with some kind of thin rail, I mean, is there an opposition to the color being something other than white or off-white? And again, just trying to hide it as much as possible.
yeah, I think, black fences have been contentious subjects, I think, for the commission. I think if it's not an actual wrought iron fence, then black, is likely not appropriate. I think, you'll certainly see some around town, but it's not something that we look fondly on in terms of its appropriateness in these applications. So, I don't want to speak for the entire commission, but that's certainly been the case.
We haven't approved black fencing.
Yeah, I think that any kind of fencing ought to be pretty much the same all the way around and not changing colors or style.
I agree.
All right.
I hope we've provided you with direction and some clarity to this.
Yeah, definitely. It was super. I mean, again, I appreciate the time and the, and the guidance. I thought this was very helpful.
Okay. And so, I don't know if you're considering, coming back next month with the final application. I know we're seeing some applications come in for our next meeting already. So if you are, please get that in, and I think if you're going to wait till January, that's okay too. But hopefully we've provided you enough direction so that when you do come back next time, we can sort of make this quick and, and you guys can move on.
That would be great. No offense. Pun intended.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we will. We'll do our. We're going to try to nail this down. Obviously, we do have the pressure of the calendar and ground freezing and stuff. So we're going to try to resolve this.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate
it. Okay.
All right, I'm leaving.
So,
So I was too much of a slug and did not get Sherry's minutes there in time. So I'll send them out and we can have them for next time.
When is our December meeting?
Ooh, hold on.
I don't have a printout of all the meetings for the year, the dates. Did you get them and I didn't get one, or?
I can send you one.
So where do we stand on the idea that we might have a little powwow about
that's a good.
all that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And maybe Andrea, how procedurally, how fast do you think we should do that? Because I think it could be a lengthy conversation, which is a good thing. And whether that, is a separate meeting or
I would say it would a separate meeting, and we can talk about it in general terms. We just can't cut out it in relation to the Pleasant Street house if we're talking about windows. I think just a general discussion, and I only need to post that 48 hours in advance. So.
And so I'd like to ask the commission too, because we reviewed this 4 or 5 years ago, composite materials, and where we would maybe approve using them, different types and different locations. And I think since that meeting, there's obviously been new products that have come out, other things that we've looked at. So, I don't know if you all feel that, maybe that's another topic for the same meeting, to, discuss, composite or alternate materials.
Probably is.
Yeah.
And
It'd be helpful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And do we, and I guess this is a question for Andrea, do we have the latitude as a commission to make a decision, policy, like on our own, changing like Massachusetts state law or something like that?
We do, as long as it's consistent with the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines. So that's what we have to be concerned about.
That's what we would have to
And
look
then
at.
can I also add, I think we need to be sensitive to some of our more recent that we haven't purchased their windows just yet. I'm thinking of the Pond Street project. So I think we really need to be, if we're going to do this, I think kind of time is of the essence in this regard, because I think Bridget hasn't maybe broken ground on project yet.
This, a power shift doesn't necessarily follow one project.
Well,
Correct.
I agree. If we go back in revisiting past projects, we may have a discussion and decide that we don't, allowing that's not the right thing.
Right.
But I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to do the research and be prepared for the discussion. And maybe in 3 or 4 weeks' time is the right time. Maybe 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 weeks is a better time. I don't know.
And I don't want to open a wrong can of worms, but should we invite public comment on the matter?
Public? Oh no.
Well, many people actually might have some things.
In the past, this has been, I think, what we call, wasn't it a business meeting?
It was a business meeting, and it's a public meeting. Anybody can, and the agenda's posted, so anybody who wants to can join us for that. But I think on the one hand, we need to come to terms our situation ourselves. I think we understand the ramifications of a simulated divided light window versus true-guided light, and I think we just have to come to terms with what we're going to go along.
For me, it
for
would
now.
be helpful to see these physical windows in person, because seeing just a square picture on the screen is
Right.
not helpful. To touch it, to open it, to see the depth of the muntins and all that would be really helpful, and to see them side by side. So I don't know if there's a showroom, or I know Hingham Lumber has a big selection, but not a huge selection. But maybe there's a place local that has a larger selection that we can go and have a little field trip.
What do you think?
Right.
Ben, do you
Hingham
know
Lumber.
any place better than Hingham Lumber?
Ben left us.
No, we have here.
I'm still here. I'm having trouble with the mute. I could do some research, but I don't shop many stores outside of Hingham Lumber.
What about like Cape Cod Lumber? Isn't that a big outfit?
Yeah, they have an enormous new show.
That might be something I could make
Here's
some.
another idea rather than a trip to Cape Cod, which I'd love. But Andrew, you know, looking back through past records, could you point out to us a few houses that have had the different types of windows that we're talking about, so you just drive by and look at them here in Hingham?
You know, the thing with that, our decisions is that if we say we leave it to the homeowner's discretion in terms of brand.
Right.
So I can't necessarily say that, you know, this one used a Brasco, that one used a Boston Sash,
Yeah.
because they're, you know, we haven't made specific recommendations as to brand.
Yeah, you want to avoid that if you can.
Won't need to go on the field trip, but just the people in the know, like Ben and
Yeah,
maybe
Ben,
another
could
rep
you work this out, please?
could figure it out. Noobs who don't know anything about.
Let's, our next meeting is on the 10th of December. That is our next district's commission meeting, and we have some projects. This was a nice little hiatus tonight.
Yeah.
We've got some big projects coming in, and so you know, I do think that we need to have some kind of resolution for the Pleasant Street hearing, though.
Well, I think if we can look at that as a site visit
Mm-hmm.
and sort of see the window there and determine, given the condition, given the house, the 90s, this window, and I'm just sort of making up a scenario here. It says, okay, you know, that one, in that scenario, given what it's replacing, given in you know, maybe the could or not.
You see person, and it's something that feels like, gosh, we can say yes to that. It would be nice to be able to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I mean I don't know that I think that can be handled separately, like all of the other hearings we've had, sort of on its own, in that we're looking at this other business meeting as sort of a bigger,
Okay.
global thing. You know, and I don't know if, you know, if that is
That's separate from a particular application.
Yes.
right. If that meeting is December, you say 11th or 12th?
The 10th is our regular meeting. But I'll set something up with Peter so we can see that window before that.
I think also, aren't there often in the winter what are they called, shows? There must be some kind of the latest and greatest.
Actually, Tracy, you probably know. There's what is ABX, which was Build Boston, which was a trade show for architects and contractors, but it's all virtual this year. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's like the shows like at that entertainment park in Rockland, and I found a contractor there, but there's a lot of people with pavers and windows and gutter guards and things like that. There's those home type shows I think that Catherine's talking about, and I do think that was in January, but I have a feeling it's going to be virtual for the next few months.
And Ben, the big showroom for Cape Cod Lumber, is that actually Cape somewhere, or is that somewhere
Abington.
else? Like, it's Abington.
That's close enough.
Maybe that's a good field trip spot.
I'm free every day.
I would be.
Nothing to do.
I don't know enough about the windows and all that lingo, so I think that would be a great thing to do. And then maybe there's other products that we can, when we're looking at the fencing, and we can look at the various composites and things like that as well.
Well, is this something everybody wants to go as a group, or go on your own when you have time to go, or?
I want to go with the people who have more knowledge than me. So I would like to go with
I'm gonna go with Ben.
Ben and Michael and Tracy, who have like blown.
I think that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I would.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll call them and that we're coming, make arrangements so that we don't descend on them all at one time and, without notice rather. And then,
Actually, Andrea, if you do that, they might have their reps. They may have give us a little presentation, and maybe they have people that they don't carry but would like to get in on a presentation. So it would be
good idea.
Opportunity to see other names that are maybe not in-house.
So does anybody have a preference in terms of day of the week, time of day? I'd rather not do this on a Saturday or a Sunday, or Saturday, yeah, rather not do it on a
I
Saturday.
can be flexible.
Mondays are tough for me. Usually things fall apart.
Okay, Tracy, what about you?
You would not want to schedule something work.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, just not Monday, otherwise I can make it work.
Okay, Mondays, forget it. All right, got it.
Let's vote for Tuesdays.
Aye.
I move that we pursue Tuesdays.
Well, maybe this is a good first step, and maybe we do that field trip, and then think about the next step in terms of when the meeting to discuss these things should be, and that'll give everybody kind of some time to do their own research on this field trip, and then make a decision as to when the right time is to have our business meeting to review.
Okay.
Andrea, are you in cahoots with any of the other historic districts?
I think that's a good idea.
Be nice to know, just in the broad sense, where they stand on these issues.
If they
I'm
have
happy-
roots to cahoot with.
And I'm happy to make some calls to places that you don't have.
Sure. Okay, that's great.
And if
So
there
I'll
are
coordinate that with you.
anything to know about what the Secretary of the Interior constraints may or may not be.
I'll get that to you as well. Okay? Are we good? Mary Ann, it's dark now by you.
No.
It is. It is.
That means
We've
you're
caught
allowed.
up with the East Coast.
You're allowed. That means you're allowed to make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, I make the motion. I can't. I'm not a voting member.
That's all right.
I move we adjourn.
All right. All in favor?
Great.
Like,
Aye.
Aye.